Well, a warm welcome along to the first of our Euro 2024 preview shows with freesupertips.com, your home for daily football hackers and bet builders. I'm Warren Ashurst and I'm joined by Mark Langdon, and we'll be with you every step of the way this summer throughout the European Championships. And if you want an extensive show previewing the whole tournament, you can head over to our YouTube channel where myself, Mark, and Jonathan Wilson and James Milton discuss the tournament. Without further ado, though, it's time to get straight into the first round of group stage games, and we'll start with Sunday's clash between Serbia and England. So Gelsenkirchen is the venue then for Serbia against England on Sunday, an 8 o'clock kick-off. And well, I suppose the excitement for the tournament, Mark, when England had qualified was certainly at a high level. It feels like there's maybe a bit less confidence around at the moment, despite the fact that England are still top of the betting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sort of not much market confidence behind them. I think had everybody been fit, had they had a good preparation in terms of the friendly results, maybe, they would have been cut even further. As it is, they're drifting, and, who knows, maybe even by the time we kick off, France might even have sort of become the new favourites for the European Championship. So there are some problems, no doubt about it. I think for Gareth Southgate's sort of squad, Harry Maguire, the oft-maligned Harry Maguire, is all of a sudden been seen as absolutely key to England's hopes. And I think the bigger concern for me is Luke Shaw and just his overall fitness, because I think without sort of that guarantee, you're asking for somebody that isn't a left-back to play left-back. And it's not that Trippier, for instance, can't play as a left-back, Warren. It's more the fact that he just unbalances the team in doing so. We still don't know who is going to play in that central midfield position. We'll probably get onto that a bit later on, really, alongside Declan Rice. And I think it's an easy enough group. I don't think there'll be sort of any problems for England in terms of the group. But when they come up against a quality side, let's say if that sort of comes from the quarterfinal onwards, I think you do need to have a solid defence and a base for a midfield where you're not going to get counter-attacked, and that you can have all of the star quality you like. It very rarely plays out like that in international tournaments. Even Argentina, they won the World Cup, they had Messi, and that was fantastic. But it wasn't really until they got a better balance in the team that they managed to become world champions. So I think it is about just having sort of, you don't need to be like fantastic, I don't think, really in any position really to win a major tournament, but you do need to be solid in every area and sort of a 7 out of 10. And while England might be like a 9 out of 10 in the front third, that defensive midfield questions and where you put the defence, I'm not so sure it'll be up towards a 7 or an 8.
It's another similar story for England at a major tournament. You go in to the tournament wondering who's going to fit in where, who's going to slot in. Are there concerns on the injury front, like you say, with Luke Shaw as well? And one of those things that 6 months ago you probably wouldn't have even considered is Trent Alexander-Arnold playing in midfield, and that looks like a real possibility. Yeah,
I'm intrigued to see how it goes. I mean, it doesn't say much for the other midfield options, is it? That Gareth Southgate thinks that, all those that play there week in, week out, are kind of not as good as Trent Alexander-Arnold in the position. I mean, look, it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, how often have we seen him in there? It's just not regular enough, is it? He's had a couple of easy, friendly games, and he drifts into that position for Liverpool, and he looks sort of class act when he does it. But I think it's one thing being a right back and moving into central midfield rather than actually just playing there the whole time. So I am intrigued. I'm not going to have a go at Southgate for it. It might work out. I love Alexander-Arnold as a footballer, and you should always try and get as many good footballers as you can into a football team. And his set pieces are really strong as well, and that is important in international tournaments, as England have shown themselves in the past. It's just, is he going to have that nous, I suppose, to kind of understand where he needs to fill in if Declan Rice goes on a charge? And if he doesn't, and Declan Rice becomes that kind of defensive screen, as he has for so often for England, the question would be, that's not really the position he plays for Arsenal anymore. He's, I'm not saying he's a rampaging midfielder, but he's certainly somebody who likes to get forward himself. So It's a gamble, but it would have been a gamble to have played any of the. Conor Gallagher doesn't really play that deep for Chelsea. Wharton is clearly talented, but not really been sort of seen at this kind of level at all. It's a rapid rise for him. Mainu, I think, is another one that wants to get forward and impact play. Kind of, he wants to be an attacking eight, doesn't he, rather than kind of a defensive midfielder. So intrigued to see how you got to call him Trent. I mean, you can't call him Alexander-Arnold. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how Trent gets on.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting team selection, you feel, from Gareth Southgate for the opener. Before we look at Mark's bets for that opening game in Gelsenkirchen, just a little bit of word on the opponents as well, Mark. Serbia. 5 of their 15 goals in qualifying came via the head of a player, which maybe suggests that we're going to have a bit of a threat in terms of England and set pieces. Is that the main threat, do you think, from Serbia?
Well, I think that it's an important point because in Mitrovic, they have got, a kind of old-fashioned sort of English centre forward, haven't they? Like a real number 9 type. And Vlahovic is also, a lump up front as well. And that's where Maguire's aerial presence could be sorely missed because Gay's got sort of qualities and he gets around the pitch quicker. He's not as physical, is he, as Maguire? Doesn't enjoy that side of the game quite as much. I'm not saying he's weak there, but that is Maguire's strength. So I think that Mitrovic and Vlahovic are clearly going to cause issues for England if they can get balls into the box. You've got Dusan Tadic, is a player that is capable of sort of conjuring up that moment of magic, whether it's from a pass or a set piece. I think Milenkovic-Savic is another one with these late runs from midfield that could cause some issues for England. So it's not a gimme. I mean, England are around about 4-9, 2-5 to win the game. Not sure I'll be sort of sticking England in all of me accumulators for the first round of matches, but I would still expect them to get the job done.
Yeah, opening games in European Championships are not the strongest area for England as well. I think they've won 1 in the last 8 European Championships that they've taken part in. In terms of the prices, before Mark gives us his best bets for the game, Serbia, you can back it around about 11-2. The draw 15-4. England around 9-20. Let's start off with the bet builder first, Mark. What are you looking here?
Yeah, so for the bet builder, I'm going to go for over 1.5 goals in the game. I think both teams are better going forward than they are at the back. We mentioned him earlier, but I'm going to go for a Trent Alexander-Arnold shot on target. Looks like he's going to be playing in that midfield. He is somebody that can ping them from distance. I expect he'll be on free kicks or certainly in the conversation for free kicks. And I think he'll be desperate to impress in that role as well. And while he might be in there to sort of add a defensive base to the team, he's just so much better going forward. He'll be itching to get forward. And so I thought that was worth putting in there. And Pavlovic, the Serbian centre-half, very aggressive. He had 13 yellows for Salzburg and a red card this season. So that's around about 11-1 for all 3 of those. So over 1.5 goals. Alexander-Arnold to have a shot on target and Pavlovic to be carded.
And if you're just having one bet on Serbia-England on Sunday, Mark, where would your selection be?
I'm going to go for England to win and over 1.5 goals. So it's around about 4-5. So if you wanted to increase the bet build, you could stick England to win as well. But Serbia have definitely got a goal in them. But if you go back to the last World Cup, they conceded 8 goals in those 3 matches, didn't they, against Brazil, Switzerland and Cameroon. And that was their undoing. And I don't think they've done enough since that Winter World Cup to suggest it's going to be a whole lot different in Germany this summer.
Well, that's England's opening task then. Let's have a look at the rest of the first round encounters. And we'll start off with the opening game. And the first game, of course, that coincides with Scotland's opening game of the tournament as well. They take on the host Germany on Friday. Germany around about 2-7. The draw 5-1. Scotland 8-1. And injuries have just decimated Scotland's squad in recent weeks, Mark. And I think that's probably seen confidence drop as well ahead of the tournament.
Yeah, if not attendance numbers, because it sounds like the Tartan Army are travelling in huge numbers, as you'd imagine, to Germany. I did see one report to say 100,000, and then the Scottish editor of the Racing Post said he'd seen somewhere that said it was going to be 200,000 of the Tartan Army in Germany for I was going to say for the next few weeks. I don't want to be too dismissive. It might only be the next week or so if Scotland kind of don't improve on their record at major tournaments. You're absolutely right. I think right back was an area where Scotland actually had depth, and just all of them got injured, which is really unfortunate. They've had problems in the attacking third of the pitch as well, and I think that Steve Clarke would have just wished that this tournament was taking place last summer. That Scotland looked in such a better place, and the group I think looks harder now than what it did when it was first the draw was first made. Germany are definitely improving under Nagelsmann. Hungary are a decent side, being tipped up by some as dark horses to go very far in the competition. And Switzerland had problems in qualifying. But I just look at they've got a lot of solid players in their ranks, and Scotland are going to need to either draw all 3 games or win a game to qualify. I just don't know if they've got the firepower to do it. If it is, it'll have to come from midfield. I think McTominay, McGinn, McGregor's decent player. So they have got options in that midfield, and Gilmour can make a team tick from deeper positions. Andy Robertson down that left-hand side as well, but it feels a bit lopsided, doesn't it, with all the injuries on the right, Robertson and Tierney down the left. It's sort of, I think which way Scotland are going to do most of their attacking, maybe negates that threat of Robertson to some extent, because teams know what's coming.
And the lack of goals obviously will be a concern as well, and having to play the hosts in the opening game is never easy anyway. But as you say, Mark, Germany are starting to show some good signs of late.
Yeah, I think that Nagelsmann kind of regrouped the squad. He's made some big calls, dropping Mats Hummels, or sort of not selecting Mats Hummels, who I thought was fantastic in the Champions League semi-finals and final. And he didn't want somebody like Hummels disrupting the squad because he didn't have him down as a starter. He's persuaded Tony Kroos to come out of international retirement. The team has got a better balance to it, I think, rather than actually what a lot of managers do in terms of, right, I've got my 11 best players, let's stick them all on the pitch. At international level, it feels like this happens a lot, and try and work it all out. Nagelsmann is treating it like a club team, right? This is what I want from my central midfielders, who are the best sort of people at doing those jobs, which is exactly what happens, with the process managers of a Klopp or a Pep Guardiola. And I think that Nagelsmann is trying to bring that club sort of spirit to Germany. There's issues off the pitch at the moment, politically, some unrest in the country. Hard to know which way that goes. I think it could unite if the team does well. If it doesn't go well and they start badly, then I can see sort of the whole nation actually it flipping and not being an advantage to be at home. So I think this is a absolutely massive game for Germany to set the tone for what they want out of this tournament. That could be good news for Scotland. It could be bad news. I suspect it's more likely to be bad, but with that expectation comes a lot of pressure.
And does it come with a win, Mark? That's the big question.
Yeah, so I think it does for Germany. I mean, they're heavy odds-on favourites to win the game. I'm going to go for Germany and under 3.5 goals, which is just bigger than even money. Scotland don't have much up front, as we've already said. They are energetic in midfield and have got quality, I think, to stay very competitive in the game. Also, Germany don't score loads of goals, only 6 in their last 5 games. Wirtz, Musiala and Kai Havertz as a front 3. It's very fluid, full of quality, not loads and loads of goals in there, I would say.
Let's move on to the other game in that group as Hungary take on Switzerland. Hungary around 23-10, the draw 9-4, and Switzerland 5-4. You've already mentioned, Mark, that Hungary could be seen as something of dark horses in this tournament. Are they going to start with a win?
I can see them not losing, and they are outsiders, so that would still be a positive result. I think the draw is the standout bet in this game, actually. I mean, both sides will fancy their chances of beating Scotland, so you could argue that actually a point's a really good result for both in this sort of situation, really, assuming the Friday game goes how most people expect it to. I don't think there's a huge amount between Hungary and Switzerland anyway. I'd edge just towards Switzerland as the betting does, but not with any great deal of confidence. And so, yeah, I thought the draw's definitely the value bet. I don't see it being a particularly high scoring game.
Our Hungary-Switzerland match, by the way, is one of a triple header on Saturday. Kicks off at 2 p.m. UK time. The second game on Saturday is at 5 p.m. and it sees Spain against Croatia. You could argue two heavyweights recently of European football. What do you think about this one, Mark?
Yeah, I thought Spain around about 10 to 11 were absolutely fair price. They've kind of come on a lot since they got beat by Scotland in qualifying. Spain added new dimensions to their attack. Yamal from Barcelona, Nico Williams. You know, there's sort of some real trickery out in those wide positions now. They scored 3 goals against Brazil. They had 2 really easy games in the friendlies before the tournament. But that would have just given everybody a bit of confidence. Croatia's midfield is absolute class, no doubt about that. Other areas of the pitch, not so sure about them. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for Spain. I like Spain to win the group. So, I think I'd maybe, I've tipped Spain up to win the game. You could argue that sort of Spain to win the group at roughly the same price could also be a good bet.
Yeah, so Spain around about 9 to 10, the draw 12 to 5, and Croatia 100 to 30 in that opening game of the group. And then it's Saturday, 8 p.m. It is Italy in action. The defending champions will take on Albania. Italy around about 2 to 5 to claim a victory in their first group game. It's 7 to 2 the draw. Albania as big as 15 to 2. Any opportunity of an upset here, or are we looking at the Azzurri claiming a first victory of this tournament, Mark?
Yeah, reigning champions as well. A lot of pressure on Italy because they haven't played that well really since they won the Euros, missed the World Cup, and had a change of manager. Mancini replaced by Spalletti. I think Spalletti's a fantastic coach, but I don't think this is a particularly fantastic Italian team. I'm going to go for Italy to win and under 3.5 goals. They're not a boring side, Italy, and they won't be under Spalletti, but there's just very little up front, and we saw that in the friendlies before the tournament. 0-0 with Turkey, 1-0 against Bosnia. You're looking at them centre forward options. Scamacca played well for Atalanta, but is he kind of, I suppose, that striker that the Italian fans would have been dreaming of leading the line? He's definitely not as good as, say, Christian Vieri, is he? Another option might be Retegui that come into the team over the last couple of years, but again, I'm not sure he's of the standard of what kind of the Italian football fan would want from their starting striker. So, yeah, Italy to win a low-scoring game. Albania could be argued are the worst team, I think, at the Euros, and they're in a horrible group. A couple of players to watch out for in the goal-scorer markets, Fratesi and Di Marco for Italy, particularly Di Marco if Italy go with a back 3, because he becomes a much more lively option as a wing-back than if he plays left-back in a back 4.
Another 3 games on Sunday. We've already talked plenty, of course, about Serbia against England. That's the late game. The early game on Sunday sees Poland against the Netherlands with a 2 p.m. kickoff UK time. Poland are as big as 5 to 1 to claim the victory in that game. The draw around about 31 to 10, and it's around 11 to 20 for the Netherlands. Again, the Netherlands are a team over the last year or so, Mark, who've been talked up as potential contenders. Do you see it that way, or do we think they're going to be also rounds?
Oh, I mean, it would surprise me if they won it. I don't know if that's answering the question. I don't want to call them also rounds because I look at them defensively and I quite like sort of what they've got. Verbruggen in goal. I don't think we saw the best of him at Brighton, but he's definitely a keeper of talent. Van Dijk, Ake, De Ligt, Mickey van der Ven. There's a lot of players there that suggest they won't concede many goals. Dumfries as well at Inter. So you've got the basis there. You've got 3 interesting forwards in Xavi Simons, Memphis Depay. You know, Frankie de Jong has been ruled out. Absolute quality player, plays for Barcelona, of course. And even Koopmeiners as well, that was so good for Atalanta. Another player that won't be there. So I think the Dutch could be good in both boxes. It's whether they're able to protect the defence and get the ball forward to the forwards. But I think they'll win this game convincingly. I'm going to go for Netherlands -1 on the Asian handicap. You get your money back if they win by 1 goal. No Lewandowski, it looks like, for Poland. They had no shot on target against Wales in that playoff victory. And they scored 10 goals in an absolutely dreadful qualifying group. So I think this is a good opportunity for Netherlands to start with 3 points, and then 3 quite comfortable 3 points.
Yeah, the middle game on Sunday, so to speak, is the 5 p.m. kickoff. Looks an intriguing encounter between Slovenia and Denmark. Slovenia around about 17-4 to win, 5-2 the draw, 8-11 Denmark. You were hot on Denmark 4 years ago, quite rightly, Mark. Where do we think they are compared to then?
Yeah, they're a worse side than in Euro 2020. Of course, it was played in 2021, wasn't it, because of COVID? But they had a really bad World Cup. I think key players have kind of gone over the hill now, or certainly on their way. Now, I'm going to go for Slovenia or draw, double chance odds against, actually, for this game. Got absolutely, top-notch goalkeeper in Oblak. A lot of hype around the striker, Benjamin Šeško. I know a few people have put him up for the to be the top scorer in the tournament. Slovenia will have to get out of the group if that one's to come to fruition. Regarded in some quarters as the new Erling Haaland, just about to sign a new contract with Leipzig after links elsewhere to some really top European teams. So I was going to go for Slovenia or draw, double chance. The thing that's off-putting me is that they played twice last year, and Denmark were the better side in both games, took 4 points out of those matches, but they didn't win one of those 2 games, so that's at least a positive. What I would say is that Sunday's a big day of sport. You've got the US Open golf as well, haven't we? Probably going on till about midnight. So if you are going to miss one game or one bit of sport on Sunday, maybe this is the one to just have a breather.
Yeah, football fans absolutely loving a feast of football. Another 3 games to look forward to on Monday, starting with a 2 p.m. kickoff between Romania and Ukraine. Romania 11-4 or there or thereabouts to win the game, 5-2 the draw, and it's evens Ukraine. What are you looking at here, Mark?
First of all, if this was not in a tournament, you just wouldn't watch it, would you? If this was like a qualifying game, you'd have absolutely no interest in it. You probably wouldn't even know the score. And yet, because it's a tournament game, it feels absolutely unmissable. And what else could you possibly be doing at 2:00 on a Monday if you're not watching Romania versus Ukraine? And I'm hoping for a Ukraine win. I think that they're a solid enough bet. Romania have had 4 0-0 draws in the last 12 months. So I don't see them scoring. And we just need, I think, 1 Ukraine goal could get us the money here. And Dovbyek was the La Liga Golden Boot winner. You've got Sudakov, who's been talked up a lot at Shakhtar at the moment. Mudryk could come in and be a difference maker. Zinchenko is another one. Tishanyagov has had a good season, like Dovbyek with Girona in Spain. So I think Ukraine might be lively dark horses to go a decent sort of clip in the competition, maybe sort of quarterfinal, something like that. And if they are to live up to that, this is the sort of game they need to win. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a Ukraine win.
Belgium, of course, have been there or thereabouts in major tournaments over the last sort of 10 years, and they'll play host to Slovakia in the second game on Monday, 5 p.m. kickoff UK time. Belgium are around about 1-2 to claim the victory. It's 100-30 the draw, 11-2 Slovakia. Can you see anything else other than a Belgium win here, Mark?
I do think Belgium will win. I like Belgium, like in midfield, Onana, Tielemans, De Bruyne. Like them up front. Trossard, Doku, Lukaku, and then you got sort of Bakayoko off the bench, Openda off the bench. I think they've got good options there, and they'll be very good against weaker teams in the tournament. The problem is going to be, I'm not even going to go into all the issues they've got defensively, but they've got a lot. They don't look good enough in those positions. And when they come up against a good side, it'll probably be the end of it. I was going to say good night Vienna. Good night Bruges, probably a better way of saying that. But if you look at sort of Belgium for this game, should be comfortable enough. I'm going to go for the obvious first goal scorer shout, which is Romelu Lukaku at 16-5, 85 goals in 115 caps. And he had a decent season for Roma, 13 goals. And that was the same as Marcus Thuram, and he was seen as one of the signings of the summer. And he was playing for Inter. Lukaku was playing for a worse side at Roma and still chipped in with some decent goals. So, I think he comes into the tournament in sort of good nick, and I can see why people are putting him up for the Golden Boot. I certainly wouldn't. I haven't backed him, but I wouldn't sort of put people off.
Well, talking of the Golden Boot, I think all eyes will be on Kylian Mbappe in the late game on Monday. 8 p.m. kickoff for Austria against France, vying for favouritism really with England in terms of the top of the outright market. Are they going to start with a win, do we think, Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to go for France to win 3-1 in the correct score market, around about 11-1. I mean, they're the most blessed attack in the competition. Just alluded to it there, Warren. Mbappe, I referenced Thuram as well, that had a really good season for Inter, quality throughout the team. Dembele, I've backed Dembele for most assists, actually, because he's not the most consistent of players, but you only need him to be good for 4 or 5 games, and he has got that trickery, isn't he? And he hopefully he can sort of set up Thuram and Dembele and maybe Giroud and Griezmann and all the other players that France have got. So I expect France to win the game, but Austria have scored in their last 17 internationals and they won't take a backward step under Ralf Rangnick. I think they'll be very aggressive in the press. That's how they want to play. The players are used to it because most of them have come through that Red Bull system that he set up in Austria. But with that comes space in behind, and that's where I expect France to make it pay.
Tuesday, June the 18th is almost a bit of a disappointment. There's only 2 matches that day rather than the usual 3. We've got at 5 o'clock Turkey against Georgia. Turkey around about 8-11. The draw 13-5. Georgia 4-1. Georgian fans have gone in their numbers to see a very unlikely major tournament appearance for their nation. Is it going to be frustration and disappointment for them?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go for Turkey to win 1-0 and see it being a low-scoring game. Any win at a major tournament is a big one, so I don't think Turkey will feel the need to go crazy if they get in front. And then have Georgia got enough to kind of get back into the game? Obviously, Kvaratskhelia Napoli is the stand-up player. You almost can't do a preview of Georgia without mentioning his name. Oh, impossible. I just think it's going to be very difficult. They qualified via the Nations League, which was very much a backdoor route to the finals. I wouldn't say that they sort of necessarily don't deserve to be there, and I don't expect them to get hammered in any of the games that they've got, but I'm not expecting too much in the way of points.
I won't give too much away in terms of the long-form video that we did looking ahead to the Euros, but needless to say that Portugal were mentioned a few times, Mark, and they'll start their campaign against the Czech Republic in Tuesday's late game.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Portugal to win and under 3.5 goals. A couple of reasons for this. I mean, Portugal, yeah, as you just said there, I expect them to go very well in this tournament. I think they've got just about everything that you'd want. Good goalkeeper, good defence, quality and balance in midfield, loads of different goal-scoring options up front. That being said, I'm not expecting them to absolutely tonk Czech Republic. It's the opening game of a group where you don't need to do that much to get through. So I'm not expecting Portugal to be absolutely at full tilt for the game. Czech Republic, a low-scoring defeat's not a disaster because you've got Georgia in the group. So if you think you can beat Georgia, you're on 3 points. I mean, the kind of par score is if you get 3 points and a goal difference of about -2, you probably get through as a best third-place team. So, if it's like 1-0 or 2-0 to Portugal, there might not be a great amount of desire from the Czechs to go chasing a way back into the game. And even if they do, I just don't think they're good enough. So, yeah, Portugal to win and under 3.5 goals.
That's Mark's thoughts then on the individual first round of matches at Euro 2024. We're going to turn our attentions now to the accumulator tip, Mark, and what you're looking at here.
Yeah, got a treble for the sort of opening round of group stage games. Netherlands to beat Poland. I fancied them quite strongly to win the game even before Lewandowski's injury. And, I think in the Racing Post sort of guide to the Euros, I put Poland up to finish bottom as my best bet. So I think it follows that I fancy Netherlands. They're Ukraine. I just think that they're better than the sort of outright odds suggest and can really sort of beat a powder puff Romania. And Belgium, a lot of goals in their team. Would worry about them once they get into the latter stages, but not against a team as limited as Slovakia. And it pays about 7-2 for the Dutch, Ukraine and Belgium treble.
Very nice indeed. What about your nap then, Mark, for the first round?
Yeah, I'm going Dutch, and yeah, I'm orange all over for Netherlands. So yeah, Netherlands -1 on the Asian handicap, and yeah, just to explain that bet again, if Netherlands win by 1 goal, you get your money back. If they win by 2 or more, you win around about even money, and if they don't win the game, you lose. But you would have lost your money if you would have backed them simply to win the game as well.
Well, that's Mark's thoughts then on the first round of Euro 2024. We'll be with you, of course, all the way through the tournament. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. Also, as well, make sure you join Steve Palmer and Dave Clark for the live watch-along of the US Open. Not only will Mark be keeping an eye on all of the Euros action, but he'll also be keeping one eye on the golf as well. We'll have the coverage on the Racing Post YouTube channel on Sunday from 7:30 p.m, where Mark will be joining Steve Palmer and Dave Clark to give you updates on his betting insights for the England-Serbia game. And we'll be back on Tuesday to preview the second round of group stage games. And please, of course, remember to gamble responsibly this summer.